there was a researcher who was checking out Horizon. Now, Horizon is the sort of metaverse social media platform. It's a social networking platform, basically, where instead of logging onto Twitter and scrolling through things, you put on your virtual reality glasses and you move through this sort of space where other people are also wearing virtual reality glasses, right? And she reported that she was raped or she was sexually assaulted in this space, right? And this was part of her research, was to try to see if this is actually a toxic space for women, just like social media and so forth. And, and what's intriguing to me about this, right, is that the idea here is if your digital avatar comes over to my digital avatar and invades my space and does stuff that I don't want, then that's kind of tantamount to if we were physically together and you physically coerced me into a sexual encounter, right? And so the whole notion, right, is that the line between true and false can be blurred to such an extent that the things that happen in your mind only have the same level of reality as the things that happen that have some sort of stable existence outside of us, right? This translates in one context into what's called Tamagotchi children, right? So here's another news story. This woman, Catriona Campbell, talking about, how you could have virtual children in the metaverse, right? You could have a being that sort of gives you love and affection and depends on you, and you can feed it and play with it. But, says Campbell, if you're not looking for full-time kids, you can simply switch your child off. If your virtual child spawns into a teenage monster, you can simply cancel your subscription or ignore the kid, right? And so again, right, I'm not saying that that's going to be the thing that everybody buys. I'm just saying, like, look at how these people are talking, right, about reality, as if, right, the only thing that matters is what exists inside your head, right? The experience that you have of a child is related to nothing other than your personal feelings about that child, right? And so actually it would be much more convenient and helpful if we could control the experience entirely, right? And who cares about the notion that there may or may not actually be another human soul on the other side of that relationship, right? I mean, if you're dealing with a virtual child, you're dealing with a non-conscious entity, something for which there is no internal experience. We're going to get into that in a bit later on, right? But there's something for which that this is just a sort of representation that makes you feel the same way that you might feel if you had an actual child that you loved and cared for, right? And the only difference is, right, that by sort of deciding not to pay attention to the distinction between real and unreal, by confusing that distinction, you can have all the pleasure of a child with none of the hassle of a real soul to whom you are responsible, right? Now we start to get into, I think, unpacking, again, not what tech is necessarily going to succeed in the future, so much as how our elites right now look at the world. Reality is what we make of it. Our inner experience is what matters. If we like something, if we feel pleasure, it doesn't matter if that pleasure is related to virtual imagination or if it's related to an actual living, breathing human being on the other side of that.